ठीक है. Hello. Good afternoon. जी sir. ठीक है. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the class, Kimti, Bhavna. I hope you shared the material with your classmates that I sent you in the last class. I hope everyone has received the textbook and the material that I have sent to, that I think sent to Bhavya, Kimti, and I guess Shreya, if I'm not wrong. I don't remember the name. I'm sorry. Hello, Kamran. Yes. Hello, Manish. So I hope you have all received the textbook that you were asking for. Yes. Hello, Shubh. Yes, keep joining in. Divanshi, please contact your classmates for it. Kimti, can you please tell me where have you shared? Have you forwarded to the WhatsApp group? Probably the BCom group that you are on. Bhavna, can someone please tell me where is the material being forwarded so that I can tell your classmates where it is? Like where they can find the material. Yeah, so I've sent it to let me just check again. Yeah, Muskan, Bhavya, and Kimti. The material was shared to Muskan, Kimti, and Bhavya. Yes, good afternoon. Yes. Okay, so Kimti have shared in the Teams group. Okay, please do it on the WhatsApp group. Okay, so Kimti has shared the material on the Teams group, and Shreya has shared it on the WhatsApp group. All right, Muskan has done that too. So I hope all of you have received the textbook, and I hope you have all received the SQL material too. Shruti, please contact one of your classmates to know where the material is. Yes, yeah, Bhavna. Okay. So I've shared the AECC textbook with you, and I've also shared the SQL material. You can refer to both of them. And so let's begin with our class. Yeah, so in the last class, we looked at the writing skills, and the focus was on the 3 essential elements of good writing, which included structure of writing, style and content, checking for grammatical mistakes, spell check, repetition, etc. And we looked at the 5 simple steps of writing. We looked at the writing process, which included rewriting, writing, and rewriting. And lastly, and most importantly, we looked at the note-making process, where we looked at the format, and we did a more practical exercise there, right? So please closely look at, just a second. Sorry. Yeah, so please remember the format of note making, because you can get a question on note making. Sorry. All right, so we looked at the format already. Just a second. Okay. All right, so we have looked at the format of the note making, which includes the heading of the article that we are making notes on, then subheading, what's your point, and what's your subheading, and then we can go on and on about the subpoints and the subheadings. Then subheading 2, point, and this. And most importantly, you have to make a key whenever you're using abbreviations, whenever you're using any kind of words or abbreviations that you need to write down for your further use. You can put it in the key. All right. So let's start with yeah. So let's start with the summarizing. All right. Okay. So what is summarizing? It is difficult to remember the complete contents of long texts. For that reason, it is often advisable to make notes of essential information in the text, right? So whenever we think about summarizing, we always do this, right? We read a text, we read any article, and we try to write it in our own words as much as possible. And we try to eliminate all of the points that we do not think is necessary. Right. So we often do this. A summary is a brief outline of an entire discussion or argument. And you might summarize a whole research paper or conversation in a single paragraph, for example, or we can use bullet points to talk about the summary or the important points from a particular article or particular novel or a text, etc. right? And people often summarize when the material is too long, or to emphasize key facts or points. Summaries leave out the detail or examples that may distract the reader from the most important information, and they simplify complex arguments, grammar, and vocabulary. So whenever we are reading longer texts, and we just are looking for later, we're looking for the key points. The best is, whenever you're reading a text, try to make a summary of it after you have read the entire text. Then the result is a short outline of the text containing all its, sorry. Yeah, the result is a short outline of the text containing all its important aspects. The length of the summary largely depends on the density of the text, right? And the average length of a good summary is about 1/3 of the original text, but summaries of detailed text may be longer, right? So whenever you are told to write a summary, usually the format or the idea that is followed is that your summary should be 1/3 of the original text. All right. So then if we move on, how to write a summary. Familiarize yourself with the material. The more you read the material, the article, the text, the novel, the research paper, anything, the more you read, the more familiar you are going to be with the material. The more you will know which points are important and which points are to be eliminated, right? So familiarize yourself with the material. After you have read the text or a section of it, you can start summarizing. The length of the section you can easily read through at a time in an attempt to summarize the text in parts. Depends on the structure and the complexity of the text. With reports, it is often a good idea to read one section and then summarize. Newspaper articles are often best read as a whole before starting with the summary, right? So read the text. Sometimes it happens that, when we are reading a particular article, we can start summarizing right after, right after completing it, right after reading the first paragraph of it. But sometimes it happens, like for example, if the text is smaller, if the text is a newspaper article that is just probably 300 to 400 words, so it's better to read that entire text before summarizing it, right? So that depends entirely upon you. As a reader, you should be aware of how or when you should start writing a summary. Is it okay to write a summary after maybe reading a paragraph, or is it okay to write a summary after reading the entire article? So that is a decision a reader, well-informed reader, should be able to make, right? If we understand what the underlying idea is, and we know what we're going to look for, then it's better to start writing as soon as possible, right? Before we start missing points, or before we start forgetting points. Then select important information. You should go through each paragraph, sentence by sentence, asking yourself which information is absolutely essential to the argument. You should write down complete sentences as much as possible. Jot down your points clearly, or you will have to read the original text all over again. An alternative is to underline or highlight important sentences or phrases. So this is what we have been doing since we were a child in school, right? Whether it's a biology lesson, it's a chemistry lesson, it's social studies, our entire textbooks used to be highlighted with important points, right? And those very important points are to be remembered and then summarized in your own words, right? And we've been doing this since forever, right? So we know how to select the important points, and we know how to bring them together and collate them into a summary, right? Yeah, sorry, hello. TP mic was switched off. Yeah. That you should try to condense long and complex sentences into much shorter ones. Practice economy with words. Avoid descriptions if they can be summarized in one word. For example, do not write the state exclusively controls and possesses the trade in stamps, but write the state monopolizes the trade in stamps. So remember in the last class we talked about brevity. Brevity कि आप जितना कम words use करें उतना बेहतर होता है, right? If you can communicate your ideas, your thoughts, your opinions in a few words, then that's better than writing 1 or 2 pages, which may or may not interest the reader. Right, so try to look for points that are important and try to write them in your own words, and don't try to write long sentences. Rather write short sentences that are that make sense and that convey the point that you want to make, right? And oftentimes not just because I'm teaching BCom, but I teach literature students as well, and they always say कि मैम कितना pages है, right? It's the answer always is it does not mean how many pages you are going to write. It's always about how much you can convey through your writing, right? If you convey all of the points, if you're able to express your opinion in 2-3 pages, that's well and good, right? That's all right. But you need not write 10 pages to show that, oh my god, I know everything about it, and those 10 pages mean nothing. Those 10 pages are probably just rehashing whatever the text is about. No, we don't want that, right? So always read the material that have been given to you. I'm sure as BCom students as well, you have theory in other papers as well. So read again and again the material that you have. Familiarize yourself with the important points, know what is important and know what is unimportant, or you can do away with, right? And then you need to condense those long points, those long sentences into even smaller sentences to convey or understand what is important and what isn't. All right. Then sorry, I've got the flu. Insert links between sentences and paragraphs. Make sure that the connection between sentences is clear and logical, and that each group of sentences smoothly fits into one paragraph. This can be done by inserting link words such as therefore, nevertheless, but, however, because, on the other hand, right? And this is not just for English communication, your paper in communication, but this can be used in your other subjects as well. Whenever you're writing a long answer, you can use these words such as therefore, nevertheless, but, however, because, on the other hand. Sentences can also be linked by relative pronouns. For example, who, which, whose, and that. Using the correct links means that your summary becomes more logical and coherent. Adjust the length of the summary. If you have to write a summary as part as an assignment and you are assigned a maximum number of words, count the words after writing it out. Depending on whether your word count exceeds or falls down in the given number, you can leave out the unessential information or add important information. So for example, if in your exam you can be given a comprehension passage which are followed by a few questions, which are usually followed by a few questions, and in that question you can be asked to write a summary of that paragraph for 200 words or 150 words. So try to pick out the important arguments, pick out the important points from that paragraph, and then frame it in a way that you can write or produce a paragraph of 150 words, right? Please do not try to exceed the word limit whenever it's given to you. Just a second. Yes, I'm sorry. Adjust the length of the summary. So please follow the word limit that has been given to you. All right. Uh, then we have paraphrasing. All right, and you are aware of the paraphrasing because you are aware of this exercise because I'm sure you must have done this in school, right? So what is paraphrasing? Paraphrasing is to paraphrase, or paraphrasing is to rewrite something using different words without changing the original meaning. And this is what is usually meant by the words, by the phrase, in your own words. We always write this in your own words. Try to explain, or in your own words, elucidate on what the article was about or what the text was about, right? The paraphrase should be clearer and more easily understood than the original and is often about the same length. Paraphrases are a good alternative to using direct quotations. Right, so oftentimes we use direct quotes from certain texts or articles. It is better to instead summarize it, or it is better to paraphrase it, right, the entire quote into your paragraph, and give the appropriate reference to it. So paraphrases are a good alternative to using direct quotations. In your writing, you may make a paraphrase of short sections of text and example phrases, sentences, longer sections of text. For example, a whole paragraph can be paraphrased, and information that explains tables of figures, right? Because you are become students, I'm sure, instead of reproducing the pie chart or the bar graph, what you can do is the bar graph that was part of so and so article showed or reflected the changing data, right? It showed the change in the data that in 2010 so and so was increasing, in 2009 it took a dip, in 2006 it was even worse. So you can paraphrase it, you can paraphrase the information accordingly, right? Whether it is short sentences, whether it is sentences that you think are important, whether it is an entire paragraph, or whether it is figures, all right, or information that is part of tables. All right, and what are the steps that one needs to take while summarizing the text? And I have given you examples, so don't worry. So read the text carefully, underline or note any important subject-specific words. Look up any difficult words and try to find synonyms for them, right? Try to find words that are closest in the whole idea that is being reflected in the article, right? Then try to find different words of expressing the information in the groups or words or phrases. Rewrite each sentence. Try to simplify the sentence structure. Try to simplify the sentence structure and the vocabulary without changing the without changing the meaning. Put your text out of sight and write your paraphrase from memory, and revise what you have written, comparing it to the original. Your paraphrase should clarify the original but be written clearly in your own words. So, what are the most important things? Read the text carefully. Make a note of all the important points. Try to find synonyms of words that are similar to the idea that is to be that you need to convey in your material that you're going to write. Then find different ways of expressing the ideas or thoughts. Then rewrite each sentence. Try to simplify the sentence structure. Do not write long sentences. Write shorter sentences. Then put your text out of sight. For example, put the material or the article that you have read away, think about it, think about what you have read, and then try to write the summary, or then try to write how you're going to paraphrase it. Then whatever that you have written, revise it, right? So pre-writing, writing, and post-writing included was the process that we followed in the writing process, remember? So revise what you're going to write, reread what you have just written. Okay, and then here we have an example. So height connotes status in many parts of the world. Executive offices are usually on the executive offices are usually on the top floors. The underlings work below. Even being tall can help a person succeed. Okay, studies have shown that employers are more willing to hire men over 6 feet tall than shorter men with the same credentials. Studies of real-world executives and graduates have shown that taller men make money. In one study, every extra inch of height brought in an extra $1,300 a year, but being too big can be a disadvantage. A tall, brawny football player complained that people found him intimidating off the field and assumed he had the brains of a Twinkie. So here I've given you a passage, and right at the beginning we have the main idea. What is the main idea of the theme of the passage? The passage is about that in many places, in many parts of the world, height is considered to be connotes status. It commands respect. It commands authority, right? So that is the main idea. Identify the main idea or the theme. Now, the main idea has been established. Now, what are the points that are supporting this? And what is the theme? Height. Right, so here we have points. The first point is that in every building, all the executive offices are at the top, whereas people who work below them are lower in the status, are lower in hierarchy of the organization. Then taller people are hired more, right? And if they're hired more, they are also making more money. But there are also disadvantages to being tall. And what are the disadvantages of being tall? It is that if you're too tall, if you're too big, then you are considered brainless. Then you're considered, you perhaps don't have enough mind, right? You don't have enough brains. So you have the supporting points, you have the advantages, you have the disadvantages, and you have examples as well, right? That examples over here, 1,300 per year was a bonus to people who perhaps were hired because of their height, right? So you have examples of them. Now apply paraphrasing strategies, reorder ideas, and change the keywords. Now, how are we going to present this? We are going to present it by rewriting the words. We are not going to use the same words. For example, like I've said, instead of status, we can talk about respect, we can talk about authority, right? And we also use the underlings work below. We can use organizational hierarchy. We can use similar words. We can use synonyms, right? And make more money. We can say that they are more successful. And for example, have the brains of a Twinkie. We can say that they are considered more brainless, more foolish, right? So these are the ways you can paraphrase. And what is the process that you need to follow? And that's the identifying the main idea, identifying the supporting points. If if there are any advantages or disadvantages, talk about them. And then if you still have words left, then you can we talk about examples. But if you are following a word limit, then you can cut off the examples and just focus on the themes. All right, and you can reorder and change the key words. All right, then we are going to look at the difference between paraphrasing and summarizing. Any questions so far? I'm sorry, Rahul, I don't have the WhatsApp link with me. So, yes, Kirti will be doing the format, we'll be doing report writing in the next class. Dialogue writing, I can definitely send you the format for it. There's no particular format per se. I did discuss dialogue writing in the previous classes after we looked at dialogue. Writing, we talked about how whenever if you get a question, try to introduce, of course, try to introduce yourself, try to introduce the speaker that you're talking to, and always start with good morning, good evening, hello, how are you, right? So you have to start with that, and at the end you have to, you have to thank the other person, you have to thank him for his time, you have to thank him for the opinion that he has provided, maybe a different perspective. So you have to thank him. And it's always good, if you get dialogue writing, then read the paragraph again. It's usually going to be based on the paragraph that you have been given, right? So read the paragraph again and read the question. What dialogues are you supposed to prepare, right? Form the questions in your mind before just starting to write the dialogue. All right, have the questions in your mind and try to think about how is this character or this person that is reflecting, that is presented in the passage that is given, how is he or she going to respond to that, right? So if you already have a character that is established in the paragraph, try to think from his perspective, put yourself into his or her shoes and try to think like that, right? But of course you can get questions like, why don't you write a dialogue between you, perhaps you're the editor of the college magazine and you are interviewing a local celebrity, you are interviewing a sports person, so you can write that accordingly, right? You can form your own questions and form your own answers as well. Bhavna, I have given you all the material that I think is appropriate, which includes the textbook and the SOL material. For others too, the textbook has been provided and the SOL material has also been provided. So kindly follow that. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Yeah. So let's look at the differences between paraphrasing versus summarizing. So paraphrasing and summarizing are basically changing the sentence structure of the original text. Whatever. Yeah, just a second. Yeah. Yeah. So whatever text that we have, okay, it's not shared. Let me just share it. Yeah, I hope you can see it now. Yeah, so in paraphrasing and summarizing, what you have to first do is, of course, change the sentence structure of the original text, change the vocabulary of the original text, and this is common for both paraphrasing and summarizing. And in paraphrasing, what you have to do is you are going to use all the details that is provided in the text, that are provided in the text, and a paraphrase is often similar to the length of the original, right? Your paraphrase will usually be as much as the original article or the material will be, but summary is always going to be 1/3, right? So in summarizing, you are not going to use all of the details, rather you will only focus on the important points, you will only focus on what is important, and you will only write those down, so your length will immediately be reduced, right? Your summary will always be 1/3 of the original paragraph or the material or the write-up. All right. So please practice this. I'm sure you have done this in school as well. Please remember the format, right? This is the note making format. Please remember the format for writing note making, or how you're going to write how you're going to paraphrase, or how are you going to summarize, right? So whenever you're going to paraphrase, identify the main idea that is given to you in the material that has been provided. Identify the key supporting points, cut out more the examples that may have been given to you in the paragraph. Apply paraphrasing strategies like reordering ideas and changing the keywords, right? And please practice as much as possible. Go back to your school textbooks, and practice as much as possible. uh, Wait just a second. Yeah, so yeah, so next we have formal writing. Keepti, we will be doing report writing as well in the next class. So let's do formal letter. I hope paraphrasing and summary is clear to you. Yeah. So like I've said again, I'm sure you are aware of the formal letter format. So let's go back to it again. So parts of the formal letter. The first is, of course, the heading. The name and the address of the sender comes at the top of the letter, whether it is an individual or an organization. In the case of the organization's name and address, generally printed letterheads are used, where this part is printed in the center. This part is also termed as return address, which means the receiver of the letter knows whom and where to respond, right? So over here, what is this? This is the address. All right. This is what we are focusing on right now. This is the heading, and it will always have the address. Then we have the reference number. What is the reference number? This is the reference number. It is the number which is specific to a letter. It helps in locating the letter at a later stage. This number along with date makes it a very specific identity of a letter. So this can be, of course, for filing purposes, we always write this reference letter in perhaps 2019. This particular number meant corresponded to this idea that there was a car insurance thing, right? So then we have the date, of course, right? And the date is to be written in this particular format. In the age of global businesses and multinational communications between companies, different formats of date writing are used in various countries. But for our context in normal usage, we follow the date, month, and year format of date. But for official purpose, we adopt any one of the following styles for date writing. That is 20th September 2019, or September 28, 2019, or 20th September 2019. The focus is always going to be that the month is to be spelled out. It is to be written. You cannot write the number. Okay, please remember this. Like I've said, you will be marked for the right format, right? So please remember this, how the date is to be written in a formal letter. Then you have the inside address. It is the name and address of the receiver of the letter. These days, organizations use cover envelopes with cuts at the place of inside address, and the papers folded such a way that the inside address becomes the outside address too. Now, I'm sure you will have a lot of questions regarding the return address and the inside address, and certain books follow different formats, but the book that I've provided you follows the Delhi University prescribed syllabus. Therefore, please focus on that, right? Always focus on whatever is there in your S1 material also, because the more books you read, the more confused you will get sometimes, because the format keeps changing. And just focus on what is there in the S1 material, and I'm sure you'll be fine. Then subject line. Here we have the subject line, right? It is a brief one line about the subject of the letter, whether it is applying for a job or complaint or a damaged product or submission of a proposal. The subject letter should convey the purpose of the letter at the very first glance. Right at the beginning, you should establish your request or anything that you need from the person that you are writing to. Right, then you have the salutation. The salutation is dear sir and ma'am, right? Then sorry, yeah, so commonly used sir or madam when there is no previous interaction, or dear sir or dear madam when there is previous interaction. No ma'am, please, we cannot write MAM, right? So if the writer knows the receiver, if we know the receiver, then the address will include the word dear. If you do not know, then you can just go ahead with sir and ma'am. When you're using the name of the addressee, please address with the first name only as given in the examples. Do not write the examples are dear Mr. Rajiv and dear Miss Namya. Do not write like this. The easiest, or the way that you can do is the right way is, sorry, sir and madam. And the note for salutation is that these days we often we use MS. We use MS for any married or unmarried woman in place of the distinct address of MISS or MRS. So, Sir, Mr. MR and Miss MS. Then we have the introduction. Yeah, an introduction or the opening paragraph, right? Where you write about the context, background, or the letter and introduce the topic of correspondence. Why are you writing? And every letter, what is expected is, of course, should have at least 3 paragraphs, right? And the first paragraph will be, of course, the main paragraph, and then later 2 can be a few sentences, just a sentence also. So the details of the body are main paragraph. This is the main part of the body where the writer can give the details of the content to be conveyed. This is also the part where the writer has a maximum choice to showcase his or her talent of writing. And conclusion of the closing paragraph is the section of the body where the writer focuses on the action required from the recipient of the letter. Early reply, meeting in person, consider as a candidate, sanction the leave and approve the proposal, right? We always say we look forward to your reply. I hope you grant me this blah 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 soon, right? I hope you issue me the transfer certificate soon. I hope we can have this discussion in person. I hope we can get on a call about it, right? So closing should be very effective to get the desired action done. Then we have the complementary close. After the closing paragraph, the letter does not end abruptly. Rather, phrases like yours sincerely, yours truly are used before the signature slot. Salutation and complimentary close are related. If the salutation has been more on a personal level, like Mr. Jacob, the complimentary close will be truly or yours sincerely. But what is to be done is mostly whenever you are writing as a student, it's preferred, or you should just follow yours sincerely where the S is in capital. All right, then you have, of course, the signature slot. The signature slot, the part carries the signature, name, and the designation of the sender. This part provides authenticity to the content and fixes accountability on the writer. The parts of the signature slot are not as compulsory of the letter, but you can, of course, provide it. And what follows the signature and everything, Of course, it's not mandatory, but you can write it. The other parts include reference, enclosures, and courtesy copies. References, of course, some organizations prefer the signatures of other personnel involved in dictating or typing of a letter, which helps them to locate easily in future who typed it. And then you have enclosures. I think we do this when we are perhaps asking for, we are leaving an organization. For example, when we're leaving a school, we enclose our mark sheet. Remember, we used to enclose our mark sheet, we used to enclose our ID cards, etc. So after writing your name, then you write enclosures, and you, instead of writing enclosures, you will be writing ENCL, and then you will be writing number one your your 10th certificate, number two your 12th certificate, number three your photo ID proof. And whenever you're writing enclosures on your letter, it shows that you. So later, if your letter gets misplaced or the documents gets misplaced, then it is you're not accountable for that, right? So it's always good to write what certificates you're enclosing or what material that you're enclosing with the formal letter, right? And it's good for the sender as well, because he will immediately know that what material he is receiving apart from the letter that you are sending him. Right, so they are just like attachments in email. Any additional documents attached with the main letter are listed in this part. And then you have the courtesy copies. When copies of letter are sent to more than one recipes, it is detailed in this part. The name and designation of the person is written in the days of use when we were using carbon papers. That's probably like during the time of our parents. Earlier, long back, we used to make carbon copies, right? They used to be carbon copies. Sometimes the word distribution is also used by two in the next line, and then the names and designation, the other recipients that follow. So earlier we used to write CC the way we write CC now in email as well. That other people can read this mail too. They can be included as part of this communication too. But right now, in your letter, if you write CC, then it means that you're not just writing perhaps to the HOD, you're also writing to so and so other teacher as well, right? So nobody really does that nowadays, because earlier it was to be done that using the carbon copies, you can send it to the different copies that were to be made. You can send it to other people as well. So you can write it like this: distribution to, if you're writing a particular letter to so and so, distribution Mr. Kamal and Mr. Pankaj. So Mr. Kamal will also get the letter, and Mr. Pankaj will also get the letter. And then you have the postscript. As the word indicates, it is the script written after the letter has been completed. When the writer of the letter realizes that she has completed the body, but some vital information is left out, so he can include it in the PS, right? So sometimes we end up forgetting, when we're writing, probably we missed our roll number, we missed our some number or some class that we was supposed to write in the letter. We forgot to do that. So right at the end we can write PS and a colon, and we can write your admit card number or your number or whatever. All right, and the format that is to be followed is this, right? And this is the return address, whoever is writing. This is the reference, this is the date, and please remember the date. How is it to be written? The month is always to be spelled out. And this is the receiver's address, the subject, request to get annual car insurance renewed. So you have to write the whatever that has been asked of you. But if the question is asking of you to write a formal letter, then sir, madam, and the 3 short paragraphs. You will state your idea or whatever your request that you're going to make in the first paragraph. Please feel free to contact for us for any query. You're looking forward to an early response. So these are your 3 paragraphs, and mostly the last 2 will be, like I've said, short sentences or just a sentence or 2. And sincerely, Rajendra Kumar, and this one will be your your signature. And after writing this, you can of course follow with enclosures, you can follow with PS postscript, you can follow with courtesy copies, you can follow with reference, etc. All right. So please remember the format. Like I've said again and again, please remember the format. You'll be marked on it. You'll be marked on it apart from the content. So please remember the format. I do not have any information regarding the exam, how will it be online or will it be offline, or how are you going to upload the documents. I'm sorry, I do not have any information on it. SOL will provide you all of the information in due time. So please wait for the official email, and you will be provided with all of the information soon. Largely, I've said that the material has been provided to you here. The textbook has been provided, so kindly follow that. Yeah, please follow the material that has been provided. Have a look at that. All right. So I hope the format is clear. So we looked at paraphrasing, we looked at summarizing, and we looked at the formal letter. And these are the questions that can be asked. Formal letter will definitely it usually finds its way in the exam paper. I'm sure you know that. So please remember that. And And for paragraph, you can get questions like this. Like, for example, you have been given a paragraph over here. And here is paragraph, the above passage in not more than 75 words in contemporary language and style. Right? So you have already been given a passage over here, which you have to read and then paraphrase in words, in 75 words. So please have a look at this. And again, like write a review based in the information, based on the information in the passage. Again, like I've said, if there's a character already there in the text that is provided to you, please follow that, and then write out, make points in your head before writing down the dialogues. And you can add details, of course. You can add your own details, and you can go and add any necessary details that you think are important. I will send you if I find a proper format, or if I find a good way, uh, something related to the dialogue writing thing. I will definitely provide it with you. I'll share it with Keepthi or Bhavya. The writing, the heading will be in the center. The heading will be in the center if you're talking about the note making. Is that what you're talking about? Aman, I have provided with you. I've provided the material. Adarsh, please have a look at the team's group. The material has been provided as well as the textbook. So yeah, the material has already been provided. Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah. Are you talking about the note making? Letter? Letters left. Letters left. Note making, the heading will be in the center. But whatever that you're writing as part of your letter, it's going to be at the left-hand side. Yes. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah. Okay, let me just have a look. Here. Where is it in the center? Okay, so this is what you're saying, right? Uh, See, if this is the center, then this is referring to the letterhead. Remember, like we talked about the letterhead of certain companies. If the letter is written on a letterhead, then the address will be in the at the center. I hope it's clear now. Yes. Any more questions? I hope you have all received the material and the text. Please have a look at that. Have you all looked at the text? Have you all looked at the text? Because the last class will be on Thursday. So please go back to your grammar books, read and reread the exercises and the material that you must have done in school. So it has been provided. It's already been provided. Keep the Bhavya. Everyone has, Muskan has posted it on the WhatsApp at the Teams. Uh, yeah, sorry, it has been provided to you on the Microsoft Teams group and the WhatsApp group, I believe. So please have a look at that. It's already there. Others, I just shared the questions with you. It's already been shared. Yeah. Any more questions? I'm sorry, I'm not on the WhatsApp group, so I cannot share the link with you. Pratima, it will be on the left. In both. दोनों में left पे आएगी. जो एग्जाम्पल दिया गया है आपको एसएमएल मटेरियल में वो फॉलो करता है, जैसे लेटर हेड होता है ना, काफ़ी कंपनीज ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस लेटर हेड यूज़ करती हैं लेटर हेड पे लेटर लिखने के लिए। तो वो उसमें जो एड्रेस होता है वो सेंटर में होता है, मगर अभी आप लिख रहे हैं और आप लिखेंगे ना एग्जाम में, तो फिर इसीलिए आपको लेफ्ट पर लिखना है। दोनों, नोट मेकिंग में भी लेफ्ट पर आएगा सब कुछ, और लेटर में भी फॉर्मल में लेफ्ट पे आएगा। मगर प्रतिमा ये याद रखिए, जब आप नोट मेकिंग में लिख रहे होंगे, लाइक व्हेनेवर यू आर राइटिंग पॉइंट्स इन नोट मेकिंग, देन sorry there's some error. Whenever you're writing the heading in note making, it will be in the center. In formal letter, all of the addresses will be at the left. Just remember this. Note making, the heading will be in the center, and letter writing में सब कुछ left पर आएगा। और नोट मेकिंग में हेडिंग सेंटर में आएगी, बाकी पॉइंट्स लेफ्ट पर आएंगे, मगर वो थोड़ा थोड़ा इंडेंटेशन से आगे बढ़ते जाएंगे। आई विल डू द फॉर्मेट अगेन ऑन थर्सडे. I think there is a lot of confusion regarding the format. I will do the format on Thursday. Kinti, if I find any particular format, then I'll definitely share it with you. I'm sorry, I do not know this. It will probably be 100 or 75. But if there is any, if I find any particular format, I will share it with Kimti and you can share it with others. Pratima, I will do the format with you in the next class. Don't worry. Okay, I'll do the format with you. So I think it's already 4. So I'll see you in the next class. The next class will be the last lecture. So please attend it. We'll be doing report writing. I'll see you in the next class then. Bye bye.